Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Shield Cybersecurity Awareness overview. This is really geared towards our elite clients. However, we're going to make this public on our YouTube channel. So, welcome here. So, the reason we're doing this is, if it's not obvious already, is because of the reports that we're seeing every day. We're seeing businesses, government agencies. In fact, just yesterday, Baltimore was shut down. I don't even know if they've recovered yet. I haven't followed up on that to see how they're doing. But people just in businesses and nonprofit organizations are just not prepared to handle that sort of thing, and the education is obviously not there. And it's not their fault, right? I mean, if you think about it, cybersecurity is so different from your normal IT issues and situations because there's someone actively out there trying to bypass the security measures that companies like Shield Networks are putting in place. Whereas no one's intentionally trying to, you know, kill your hard drive or all of the various other problems that just come inherently with technology. These people are actively trying to infiltrate your computer, to steal your data. The last stat I read was cybercrime is a $1.6 trillion industry. So it's no wonder that they have the time, they have the money, and they have the inspiration to go after data and to go after your data and lock it down, or cause or scamming. We're going to talk about phishing and impersonation, that sort of thing. So let's get rolling here. So that was the introduction. My name is Eddie Phillips. I am the head of operations at Shield Networks, and we're going to talk a lot about email today. We're going to also talk about some typical things is nothing new here: infected sites and ads, social engineering, and then we're going to talk about the support options here at Shield. Again, this is really geared towards our clients, but it's going to be publicly available on YouTube. All right, so email threats. Email threats are the root of the 90% of the infections and scams come through email. This is the biggest cause and reason for infiltration. There's a few different ways that this happens. There's phishing. It's a process of pretending to be a trusted customer or vendor. Impersonation, using misleading tactics to impersonate an employee, client, or vendor. And then there's malware, which is an infected payload or a link to a payload. The most commonly talked about and reported item right now is ransomware. For those who don't know, ransomware is a malware that has such a huge impact because they're not stealing your data necessarily in order to take advantage of the value of that data to other companies or even to them, but it's actually exploiting that value of the data to you. So what happens is in a ransomware situation is a computer or a server gets infected, and quietly in the background, that ransomware looks at files that you can access, or that person who downloaded and executed it can access, right? So local files, server files, anything that's available. And the worst part about it is it doesn't need local administrative rights. So this runs in the user context, meaning that even if a user does not have the ability to install software locally on their computer, it can still run. It can still encrypt these files. And what it does is once it's done encrypting everything it can see, it pops up on your screen with a warning and alerts indicating that you've been encrypted and how much in Bitcoin that you're required to pay, and the instructions on how to unencrypt that data. The only way to recover from this at this point is to restore from backups. There are a few of them, a few ransomware instances where there is a decryption method, but they are few and far between. So backup is your most reliable way to get through it. Anyways, we'll keep on going. We will take some questions here later on. So if you guys have anything, let me know. Phishing, common strategies. So spoofing, changing the from email address to look like it was coming from a known contact, an email claiming to be a trusted client vendor, et cetera, trying to scam or lure you, and then the CEO scam. So the CEO scam is really, really common right now, and this is where a perpetrator or scammer is pretending to be the CEO of the company. They've changed their header to make it look like it's coming from the CEO, or in worst case scenarios, they've actually hacked the CEO's account, and they are sending a request to the chief financial officer or the accountant or whoever's in control of the money. And typically it's an urgent type of email that, and they wait until they're on vacation or they're traveling, and they determine this by either monitoring emails, monitoring social media, and they send an email to whoever's in charge of the finances, something to the effect of, oh, hey, I forgot to pay this bill. Please pay this as soon as possible. And there's a link to whether it be e-transfer or a wiring account and that sort of thing. And it's amazing how successful this type of scam is. We helped out a company last summer who received this type of a threat, this type of an email, and the scammer, the faceless unknown scammer that was on the internet, was obviously monitoring this company for quite some time, and the CEO, because the CEO, when he typed emails, he would put characters like the triple dots, I can't remember what the name, the ellip, whatever it's called, at the end of a sentence in his email. He would do that a lot, and sure enough, this email came into the accountant with the exact same writing style, so they had no reason to suspect that there was anything off. And the email asked that they would pay off this bill that he meant to take care of before he left on vacation. And it would have worked too, except I guess there was two possible accounts that they could have paid the bill from. So they ended up calling the CEO. And of course, when the CEO received the call, he was quite shocked to find out that they were about to send this money away. So it's amazing how often this happens. We did a presentation to one of our clients yesterday, and yeah, they had also received, not through their work email, but I guess one of the owners had volunteers with a local sports club, and they received the exact same type of scam. So it's not just CEOs; it's anybody and anyone that they can get access to their email and get access to the information, like who controls the checkbook. So we're going to talk about impersonation next. So we're going to do a little bit of a quiz here. So in this scenario, you are Jason and you work for Aussieco, and you've been dealing with Alice Jones for quite some time, working out a deal, and finally a deal's been established. You're going to buy the product or the service from Everyday Company, and the last step is to finally send some information. So Alice, she sends you, Jason, the attached wire transfer details. And immediately after that, Alice follows up with this email. Hey, Jason, sorry, I sent you the wrong information. Our accounting department recently updated our account. I'll send the new information shortly. The following email after this comes from Alice. It has a PDF file, has all the updated wire transfer. It's on their letterhead. What's the difference? Did anybody notice the differences between the last email and this email? And this is taken directly from a scenario that we are helping out a client right now to lock down their cybersecurity, because what happened was they were dealing with an overseas company, and they were put into a situation where they were being impersonated. So I'll show you the answer here. If you follow us on our Twitter account, Facebook, or LinkedIn account, you'll know the answer already. But it was a simple change of the domain, and there is nothing stopping anybody from impersonating your domain. Some of the most common things are replacing a W with two V's, but in this case it was getting the CK domain and naming it exactly the same as their .ca domain. So yeah, and unfortunately, the company the overseas company they were dealing with fell for it. Why wouldn't they, right? it's pretty rare, and so far in the presentations, it's we haven't seen too many people catch on. Although there have been some, we haven't seen too many people catch on to the difference, and it's so slight, right? You'd really have to be paying attention. And if you're dealing with Alice Jones for weeks on end or months on end, you probably wouldn't suspect anything or think to look for it. So that's really what we're after here today, especially on the impersonation, because the worst part about it is we have our Email Shield product in place in front of a lot of our clients, or in fact almost all of our clients, that will protect against things like spoofing and spam and malware. However, something like this is a little harder to catch. While there are tools to work around this to prevent impersonation, most of the time it involves registering common vendors and customers that you deal with. So for example, we would register everydayco.ca, and if something similar came along, we could alert that this is a possible impersonation. However, that involves the actual action of registering those domains, which a lot of clients don't do, and a lot of companies don't do. So again, this is all about awareness. Continuing with impersonation, just some examples. So, for example, dropping an S or other character, or adding a less obvious character. So, Riverside Inc. or Riverside Inc. I don't know if those are real companies or not. It was just examples that I threw in here. Using the exact same signature, writing style, etc. This attack is common when someone's email has been compromised. In this particular case, the new client that we just got that experienced this, we found that they had very non-complex passwords for their email system, and when someone had hacked in and actually added a forwarder to their email system, so they were getting a copy of all the email flowing through this email system. Secondly, malware. Malware in your email, no longer just avoiding attachments like fake invoices and fake resumes last year and several years before that. And we still see them here and there, but for the most part, they're blocked. They're easily scanned and detected. But now we're looking at fake Office 365 logins and legitimate secure file transfer, like Adobe Secure File Transfer, containing malware and OneDrive. In fact, we had this happen to a client. They didn't actually fall for it, but they sent us an email that they received the other day. It looked legitimate. In fact, we suspect at this point that customer's or that vendor of theirs has been hacked because it legitimately came from them. However, the link inside of it was a legitimate Office 365, OneDrive for Business link. We actually do targeted threat protection as part of our tool set for email protection. And what that means is that the product, our Email Shield, will actually look at links to see if they lead to an known infected site. And this didn't. It went to OneDrive. So on a computer that was off network, so it was a secure computer that only had internet access, I actually did some testing with it, and sure enough, it took me to OneDrive for Business, but the link within the document tried to take me to a infected site, a phishing site actually. So it was a fake Office 365, similar to what you're seeing here. Luckily, our Desktop Shield did stop it or provided a warning. So there are levels of protection, but unfortunately, for the most part, so much of cybersecurity is reactive. We still absolutely require the awareness of the staff that are receiving these emails and are receiving these types of threats, right? Because again, we're working on new tools and new ways of protecting our staff, but the people firewall, as we call it here at Shield, is such a huge part of the equation. There's such an awareness that has to happen. So we're going to talk about some email attack prevention. So some of these are not typically caught by Email Shield, and those are the impersonation. Again, nothing stops someone from going and registering a domain that's so similar to yours or your clients that it can easily be misrepresented. Fake Adobe and Office 365 logins, which we showed you previously, and legitimate sites with an infected payload. These, with firewall scanning traffic, With our email or desktop shield, these are less of a threat than they used to be. However, again, cybersecurity is so reactive that there is still a point in time, 0-day threats, where we don't know about them, or it's a new threat. So it's always about awareness. Email attack prevention. So beware of any financial transaction communication or request by email. So this is going to require some internal evaluation. So to prevent this, putting processes in place like a phone call before you actually send financial transfers. If a request comes through from a CEO, there must be an email, or sorry, not only an email, but also a phone conversation, process changes like that, or multiple people. Things to watch out for. Urgency, right? Urgency is big, right? When we're urgent, if something's an emergency, we have the tendency as humans to disregard proper process, right? Like, we just need to get it done this time. And that's when things like these financial scams seem to happen. Sending any financial or confidential information by email. Email is sent clear text. So a lot of people don't realize this. Now, the exception to this is if you're using something like Office 365 and you're sending internal email, that never leaves the Office 365 infrastructure, so it's not visible. But as soon as you send something out to Gmail or another company, it does traverse the internet clear text. So something I put in here, although it might be a bit of an overreaction or maybe an oversensitivity when it comes to sending email, but don't send anything by email you wouldn't want published on social media. And although that seems maybe a bit extreme, it's not really. I mean, unless you're 100% confident that your email isn't being hacked, and nobody can be confident that both ends are secure, be careful what you send. Certainly don't send things like credit card information. Don't send things like passwords. Use the telephone. Use other methods of communication. Web threats. Nothing too new here. 1 in 5 companies will be a victim of cybercrime. The average cost to business. Now, this is a small and medium business. The average cost to the business that gets ransomware is $133,000. I think the full spectrum is probably, of all businesses, I think the average is around $2 million. But this is geared towards small and medium business. Now, this isn't only the ransom, right? This isn't only the cost of having the computer encrypted, and then, heaven forbid, you should actually pay it. I mean, that's giving money to who knows what state, what organization, what crime syndicate. I mean, you never know where this. I mean, it is big business. But this is also downtime. This is also unable to deliver to your customers. This is impacting the bottom line. So the cost to ransomware is so huge. And lastly, a new organization will fall victim to ransomware every 14 seconds. This is why we're doing this. So this is how common this is. So the next thing I want to do, we mentioned earlier that email is 90% of the source of threats and infiltrations. So the other ones we're going to talk about now is social engineering. So the fake calls from Facebook, Google, Microsoft. Urgency is the theme here. Asking to connect to your workstation. For our clients, Shield should be your only point of contact for any security or IT needs. And if you aren't sure about an email, a phone call, any sort of communication, don't hesitate to reach out to us. There's a story last summer. One of our clients was contacted by Facebook via text, indicating that their account had been hacked and that they needed to take control of their computer in order to lock down their Facebook account and make it more secure for them. And they did this from their work computer. They went to a website. They allowed the so-called Facebook technician to connect to their workstation. They started looking at their Facebook account, and they convinced this user to go ahead and let them work on the computer because it was the end of the day, and the user left. About 20 minutes later, the user, I guess, started to think about this and realized that what a big mistake he'd made. Called up one of our techs, who then was able to shut down the access. Luckily, We do not give our staff, or sorry, we don't give the users local admin rights. He didn't have a ton of access to the server, but when our tech connected to that workstation, he could see him trying to get access and to do some damage to that. I mean, he could have simply started deleting things. Luckily, I guess that wasn't his intent. He was looking for specific information. So we were able to shut that down without any long-term effects. But you know what? When it comes to urgency, when it comes to things like your personal data, they're playing you, right? When that's the whole idea around social engineering. It's to tap into that muscle reflex that will allow you to do things that you may not normally do. All right, and I just want to wrap this up with our support options. So Shield is here to help non-urgent issues. You can email us. Urgent issues, call us. Emergencies, call us as well. We actually tell the reception that it's an emergency, or if it's after hours, hit the emergency option. If you do end up going to voicemail, please leave a message, because those messages are then texted out to all of our techs and to myself as head of operations to make sure that we are on top of that. We do have our on-call staff, so please don't hesitate to give us a call. Now, in relation to what we're talking about here, if you receive a suspicious email, feel free to forward that to us, or just give us a call. If you have clicked on something and you suspect it may be more than just, maybe you've gone too far and you may have been scammed or clicked on something you shouldn't have, please, please, please call the emergency line. The last thing you want to do is be the person that caused the ransomware infection on your business. So, yeah, please contact us. Yeah, very good. And I didn't get any questions on this session, so we'll leave this. If you have any questions, please send them to that same email address, help@shieldnetworks.ca. So everybody have a great day. Hope this helped, and yeah, stay safe.